Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Table Talk. I'm your host, Jake Combs, and tonight we are going to be doing our second of 3 separate videos. This one is the unboxing of Team Chalnath, and this was provided to us by Games Workshop for the purpose of this video and our review. But as always, them supplying the product for us to review guarantees that we will review it and talk about it and share it with you, but we will not have any preset opinions about it. So we're going to go ahead and get this opened up. Now, this is officially released already. Ours was a bit delayed. But immediately after we identified that it was delayed, they got a new one out in the mail to us right away. So now, as soon as we received this, we actually received it yesterday, but today's the first day that we're able to actually film. And then, just looking in here right off the bat, there is a ton of plastic in here, a ton of sprues. It looks like one side is your models and the other side is all terrain. So we have 5 different terrain sprues. Now, one thing I'm not certain is the terrain does look very familiar. It looks very similar to some of the other kind of ruined terrain that we've seen before, at least when they're fully assembled. It could just be the way that they're painted, or that these haven't been released before. That I'm not certain. When it comes to 40K terrain, a lot of it I don't pay very close attention to, just because most of it we don't actually end up getting, and as such, we don't spend the time looking into and building them. Now, so we have 2 of this sprue right here. Kind of looks like you have some stained glass. Would be a great opportunity to kind of put a very thin plastic sheet over them that was a little stiff, and then you can actually paint colored window panes. Might be worth doing in like a couple, maybe just fill in a couple of the gaps with maybe like some clear resin or something, and then paint over it to have some couple of the panes in place, but not all of them, just because this is a war-torn area. Now, on one of the looks like doors, we have the double Aquila. We have some pipes and almost kind of looks like a speaker system almost. I'm guessing some sort of ventilation system, because we do have a fan up here in the center. The terrain itself has a ton of detail, and regular watchers of the show will know that I am a big fan of detailed terrain. The more detail, the better in a lot of cases when it comes to models in general. But there are some cases where the models look better aesthetically with less detail, kind of like in Necromunda, the Decal members, where their bodies are mostly covered by just flat trench coats, and so because of that, they don't have a lot of detail because the coats are covering everything up. And then for this sprue, there's only one of this. We have the main archway, a couple other window archways with some spikes on them and some columns. And then here we have our floor pieces, as well as what looks like some broken walls and some other archway pieces. There are 2 of this sprue. Now, the walkway areas do have a ton of detail. The underside, even though it's kind of meant more for like supporting the pillars where they go in these slots, it kind of makes it look like some grating that these panels are sitting on top of. So it definitely does look more realistic in that regard. Some of them are even like dented and cracked. And then we have some lights. One of the lights themselves are cracked and broken. Just some very cool terrain pieces. Those are going to be a lot of fun to do. And then going into the models themselves, we're going to separate these out between the sisters and the Tau. And actually, we have 3 more terrain sprues, and these ones are actually all the same. And so these look like some more wall sections and a couple more pillars, mostly lower walls. And then again, a ton of detail. Like this one actually has a broken fan on it. Really liking the look of that. So for each team, we have 1 sprue like this, and that's a piece of cardboard. So 1 sprue like this, or this size rather, per side, and then 1 this size. Now I suspect that the one that's this size is going to be typically your main like hero for the unit, but looking at it, we only have feet, some arms, some weapons, and some heads. So it's not really the case with this one. So it looks like that might be mostly your upgrade options. And then here we have like our fire team helmets, our fire team bodies, a lot of different guns for them. We have some drones, it looks like, one of the bigger drones. So definitely a lot of cool stuff there. The Tau I've always found very interesting, just because of how their army looks more high tech than a lot of the general 40k stuff does. Like the Tau is kind of like what you would expect to see when you think of the very far future, as far as the way the technology looks and helmets and things like that. At least that's the way that, or it's more similar to like a lot of the like sci-fi action movies and such. But their technology is much more advanced. I really like the look of some of these guns. Now, I never played Tau when it comes to really anything but Aeronautica Imperialis, and so because of that, I don't know what weapons are which. I don't know which ones are the best options. So it's definitely gonna take a little while for me to read through the upgrade options, their stats, and figure out exactly what loadouts we're going to want to use. And then so here's the adaptive Serratus. Now with this one, I really like this this staff that one of the members is holding. Inside we have some iconography in there for the Imperial cult. We have some whips, basically a staff that's like a brazier on top. We have a chain sword. We have looks like either a regular sword or a power sword. A lot of really cool looking weapons. Now, visually, the Adaptive Serratus team is much more impressive looking as far as the models. You have a lot more detail, a lot more unique style, where the fire team for Tau are very uniform. A lot of them have the same gear, same setups, and so they all fit well together, where the Adaptive Serratus are more like they have the same general overall scheme, but they're not all the same exact uniform from model to model. So if you're looking for a more unique team, you're definitely going to rather be with these guys than you would the Tau. But if you prefer your models to look very similar to each other, then Tau would be a great one for that. So then we have our insert. It is the same on both sides except for the barcode. We have our bag of bases, including our fire bases for the flight bases rather, for the drones. And so these are regular bases. Now these ones are not slotted, which is what I would expect to see. So we have our rule book. Not our rule book, our assembly book. which we do see some of the customizations here for some of the models right off the bat. This is one of the multi-toned assembly guides like we're used to seeing with more recent models. And then we do have some customization options, so that way you're gonna have more unique options with like the fire team and such, even though they all have nearly identical armor. And it looks like for those units there's about 5 different layouts. And then here we go to the adapted Serratus. And the downside to this is, like with a lot of the different models that you're only gonna make a couple of, you would have to pick and choose some of the loadouts you're gonna go with, so that way you're getting the best one for your army. But with each of the models looking so unique and being a lot of fun to paint and play with, it's a shame that you don't have the ability to do one of everything. But I know you're definitely going to get pretty close with some of those. And then we have, looks like about 10 to 12 pages for assembling the terrain. And again, as always, this is multi-toned, so that way you can see where each of the pieces are going and the last piece you used, so that way you're going to be more accurate with their placement. And then we have our actual rule book. Now, typically with most rule books from Games Workshop, the first section is going to be your fluff, your lore, background, things like that. Some images of how they're built, but only by page 34 we're already starting to actually build out your kill team. And then with the kill team supplement book, it had a lot of the different armies that you could use, and these both were not armies that were in that book. And so obviously in here we do have those individual rules. So if you want to play Sisters, or you want to play Tau, this definitely is going to be a great way for you to go. So this book is chock full of information. We do have a narrative data slate for both sides that you can copy and use to kind of fill out almost like a game journal as things go on when you complete different things. Same with the matching data cards with it as well. So I'm glad that they have those in the back, and it does say on there permission to photocopy those pages. So that's very good, so that way you're not just writing in your book. Now before I open this up, I do see that we also have 2 decal sheets, one for both faction. Now the Tau one is about half the size almost, but I suspect that's mostly because you're going to be much more uniform with the Tau than you would be Adaptus Serratus. And I know, honestly, I have no idea if I'm actually... Oh, sorry about that. I am just knocking this camera all over the place today. If you were watching the Blood Bowl video I filmed before this, you will have seen me basically do the same thing and knock down the entire camera. So this is the last part of the Kill Team Chalnath box. This is our board. Now this board looks more in line with what we're used to seeing from Kill Team and a lot of the 40k stuff. It kind of looks more like parts of an Imperial city. where Octarius was more specialized, kind of a entirely different color terrain than we usually see in these kits. So definitely something to keep an eye on. Now, if you are playing the kill team and such, you'd want to have, if you're alternating the different terrain sets out there, you would want to alternate those, so that way you definitely don't get bored. But when you're not alternating them, if you want to combine them, doing a set that has pieces that look more in line with what everything else you have is, then you're going to be able to have a much bigger map. Now, excuse me while I pick up the base that I dropped. All right, there we go. So yeah, this is a great looking set. The Imperial terrain, it looks very familiar when you're looking at it built. Very similar to a lot of the terrain that they've come out with before. Obviously, different color scheme than usual. I have no idea if that terrain is new or if it's basically just reprinted for this box set. But either way, definitely looking forward to trying out the new teams. I have never played Adaptive Serratus either in any games, so it's definitely going to be a new experience all the way around. But that is Kill Team Chalnath. We have one more video that we're filming tonight that will be coming up shortly as well, so stay tuned for that. As always though, thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you all next time. Good night.